Okay, that's 5:30. I will call this May 25th, 2017 meeting of the Carson City Library Board of Trustees to order. And we can proceed with the roll call.
Chairperson Hayes.
Present.
Vice Chair Solinger.
She informed me that she will be out for this meeting.
Okay. Trustee Luverati.
Here.
Trustee Long.
Here.
Trustee Patton.
Here.
A quorum's present.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 2, public comment. If any members of the public wish to address the library board, this would be the time.
Good evening.
If you could please state your name for the record.
Lindsay Chichester with Cooperative Extension.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks. Well, I just want to thank Sina for inviting me this evening, and I'm here to visit with you about the Carson City Fair. So we're just trying to create awareness. If you're interested, sponsorships, donors as individuals or as a board, that's totally up to you. So Cooperative Extension also manages the 4-H program. So we are one of the partners. It's a nonprofit group of people putting this together for the community. Our other partners are RSVP, as well as the Northern Nevada Antique Tractor Club. So we've been planning since September. We're the end of July, which is different than Nevada State Fair. This is the Carson City Fair. It'll be at Fuji Park, focusing on youth and agriculture, more of your traditional old-timey, family-friendly type of event. So as I mentioned, just creating awareness and the distinction that the two fairs are separate, and ultimately seeking sponsorship. I will leave some posters in the back of the room, so if any of you have a place where you could hang these, I would appreciate that. Businesses, break rooms, whatever. And then we do have a sponsorship prospectus that clearly outlines, as a sponsor, what you would get at the different levels. We're also having a day of service, so that will be the Saturday of our fair. So if you're involved with a nonprofit or an educational group, you're invited to participate in that with no fee, so no charge on that. So if you have any questions, my contact information and name is on all of the materials, and I'd be happy to. I've been telling everybody I'll buy them a cup of coffee and talk about it more, and nobody has taken me up on it, so which is surprising. But anyway, thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, moving on to item 3, approval of the meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Did everybody get a chance to review those minutes? And were there any changes? Or in that case, I would entertain a motion.
I motion to approve the minutes of the meeting. What was the date of that? April 27th meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right, we're actually going to take item 4 at the end of item 8. So we'll go ahead and note that for the minutes. Moving on to, oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. We're going to take item 4 now. We're going to move item 5. So the Friends of the Carson City Library report. I apologize.
Okay. I apologize because we did not get our report in time to be in your packet. I know. We slipped up on which one was going to be sending it in. Anyhow, the first part of the report has to do with the Browser's Corner bookstore. We had an author event last night, as a matter of fact. We had a local poet there reading his Spanish poetry and English translations and telling us about the different types of poetry and all that sort of stuff. And all of the pictures in his book were photographs taken by his wife. They're absolutely beautiful, and they all kind of just fit the poems that he had in there. So it was a really nice evening. Our author for June is Mr. J.L. Pattison, and he will be there on June 3rd, which is a Saturday, from 1 to 5 p.m. And his book that he's promoting is called Saving Kennedy, and he specializes in kind of time travel and not science fiction, but that kind of genre. So it's going to be interesting. I have not read this book yet to talk to him about it and see what his theory is. But it is about the assassination of President Kennedy. In July, we're doing a book launch for one of our favorite local authors by the name of Brett O'Connell, who wrote a book called Evidence of the Vampire. And her latest one that we're launching on Saturday, July 8th, is called Evidence of the Vampire Roman Spring. So she will be sending that out this time. And the last time I talked to her, it was being read by a screenplay writer, so it could be turned into a movie. So we're real excited about that for her. The parking lot sale on Family Fun Day that we had a week and a half ago now was very successful, especially the sale part of the books. The Family Fun Day was kind of a last minute put together, and we learned a lot about timing of when we should have all the things there and what we could add to it and all that sort of thing. What was there was a big draw for the kids, the fire truck and things, but there's a lot more we could add to it. So if we do it again, we learned from this one. But we did make a lot of money selling books. Donations are still coming in, very good. Sales were down a little bit, but they are starting to pick up, so we're okay there. Our board meeting was held on May 15th, and at that time we helped Natalie choose a name for the Petal Library, which turned out to be Book Bug, right? So we're going to put antennas on it and everything. No. So she had the list of names, and we narrowed it down and voted on it. So that was the final name. Our Books for Babies project is moving forward, even though we did have a little uptick in the price of the bibs. We are in the process now of ordering everything, and we're on board with the hospital to be ready to start handing them out July 1st. So we're good there. Plans for the July 4th barbecue to be held in the library parking lot are moving forward, and we'll have more on that a little bit later, I think. And our plans for the ACES tickets sale is also waiting for confirmation that we can get a bus so people who buy tickets will have transportation and not have to worry about parking. So as soon as I get that confirmation, we will be advertising and selling ACES ball tickets. Our strategic planning committee has been meeting twice a month for a couple of months now, and we're getting closer to actually putting to paper a strategic 5-year plan for the Friends. And the finance committee has been formed, and they will be holding their first meeting on June 1st. So all of our long-term plans are on track to be done. And that's it.
Excellent, thank you very much. Okay, now we're at item 5, which we will take during item 8 after part D. So moving on to item 6, the Library Board of Trustees business. We have 2 items. First, the presentation and discussion on the library facility improvement closures. Yeah.
Okay, Sina Lloyd for the record, Library Director. And what you have in your packets is just a rudimentary spreadsheet here looking at the different improvement projects going on at the library over the next few months. What you'll see was we did list the signboard and video surveillance here. So the signboard was approved by IFC, which is the Internal Finance Committee of the city, on 3/23. And the Board of Supervisors did not need to approve budget for that because we were able to use salary savings in the library's current budget to cover that to cover some of that cost, as well as Friends funding. The contract was approved on 4/26. The requisition was also submitted on that date, and the purchase order approval happened on the 15th of May of this month. And we will be moving forward in getting that signboard replaced, and we will not have to close the library for that specific item. We then have our video surveillance, which again was approved at IFC on 3/23. Our contract was approved on 5/17. The requisition was submitted on 5/17, and our purchase order approval happened today, actually. And they've already begun work on wiring for the video surveillance cameras at the library, and we expect delivery of the equipment next week, and we'll be up and running a short time after that, but before the end of this fiscal year. We do not expect to have to close the library for any of that process. So then we have the next 3 items. These 3 items are items that are in the capital improvements that were approved by the Board of Supervisors at the May 18th meeting. And so they're not listed under the library. If you're looking at that budget, they're listed under facilities. And so facilities is taking the lead on those. We met with Ron Reed, who's the head of facilities, I want to say about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And because we were hoping that we would be able to do this project or these 3 projects kind of in the time frame of after summer reading ends and before school starts. And it looks like that's not going to be possible. The quotes that they had received were for the downtime for those construction companies. And so what we're looking at is really in December, January is when their downtimes are. So in talking to Ron and in working through, we're essentially going to have to move around 50,000 items. And then we're going to have to move all the shelving for those items. And this is in the main library, so the 1-story piece of the library. I'll try and talk more into the microphone because I can hear it louder now. But that's what we're going to have to be moving. And in doing that, we've been approved for interior paint and the library flooring in that space. So we want to try and do both of those as close together as possible so that we're not closing the library for an extended period of time, multiple times throughout the year. We want to do one shot and try and get that done. So for the interior and main library flooring, we're looking at a start date of the 17th of December, 2017. And then we're looking at, and that's a Sunday essentially, but what that allows us to do, it's going to take a while for us to pack up all of the books and get them moved out of the space. So that's going to allow us to do that. And library staff will be participating in this. It will be a full staff effort as well as additional assistance from potentially the jail and their inmate crews, as well as city facilities and public works. So then we're looking at that would be complete around the 5th of January. And then they would come in and do the interior painting because we do have a lot of shelving that resides on the walls of the library. And so to bring that in and then try to have them paint after we've already moved all of those items and move them again would again be time consuming. So having them go ahead and paint and then go ahead and move everything back in. That does mean that the library would be closed for, at minimum, 4 weeks. And that is a long amount of time, but it is some necessary improvements. And I'm going to go ahead and just show you guys 2 videos that I've taken of the condition of some of these items that are being replaced. So what we're looking at for the flooring of the library is that we would go ahead and do a concrete polished floor rather than carpet. A couple different things. I mean, it's more germ-free. We're able to easily clean it, but we are also able to not have to replace it and move all of our items yet again when the carpet would need to be replaced. The carpet we currently have is duct taped together and has lasted a lot longer than its lifespan. So this is just walking, that's the staff space, but in the main part of the library, as you can see, some of the carpet at different points in time has been replaced, but the light kind of gray is the normal clean carpet, and then you can see we've duct taped areas down for safety. And it is still bunching in places, which is unsafe because people could, if they slide their feet when they walk, they can trip on that. And so that's just kind of a shot for you. But again, all of those pieces of shelving, all of that does have to be removed for us to be able to go through this process. And then over here, you'll see, and you'll kind of see it already, of just scuffs and wear on our interior walls and our paint. This is just one of the sections. There was a section that was worse, but there were patrons in that area, and I didn't want to disturb them while taking the video. So you'll just kind of see, the different scuffs there, and it's just time for a good coat of paint at That area has not been painted, whereas the area that you could see to the left had been painted at one point in time. So that's what we're looking at, is all of this area would end up being painted. We'd have new floors, and we'd be able to open up with this really improved space. So with that, you do have a recommended motion in your packet under this item, but I'll take any questions that you might have or comments.
I have a question.
Yes.
Involves the removal of the carpet and the paint. I would just assume paint first and then take the carpet up.
So
What's the process? Because, I mean, I'd hate to take the carpet up, do the concrete floor, and then paint, and then stuff get back on the
So
floor.
in talking to facilities, we actually will need to paint after, because when you do the concrete floor, they sand the concrete, which puts concrete particles in the air, which would stick to any new type of paint.
Okay.
So,
I'm also sure that with this being done professionally, that we shouldn't have to worry about paint hitting the new floor or anything like that.
correct. And these are
guys
both, they're contractors. Both of
Trust
these
me.
are contractors.
Yeah.
Things can go wrong, they will. I'm sorry, go ahead. Why should I rain on your parade?
Just a quick question. With the, the removal of all the shelves and everything like that for the painting, I'm sure that over time, push pins and everything like that have been pushed into the wall. Are they planning to go through and basically spackle all of
Yes,
that?
it would include repairing the areas that need repair, because there are some areas that had a junction box and no longer have a junction box, so it's a
Right.
hole in the wall. So that would be repaired as well at that time. And then just to elaborate a little bit more on staffing, so essentially the week in which we're breaking everything down and putting everything back up, all of our staff who are there are going to have to be engaged. So I don't want the community or the board to think that, oh, this is like a free ride, free vacation. There is going to be work that we are doing to make sure that this process goes smoothly, because we don't have anybody else boxing up all of our books, but at the same time, we don't want anybody else boxing up our books, because we have to put them back on the shelves in the order in which they came off. And so we have to make sure that that process is really tight. The other piece of this is the 2 weeks in which, or 2 to 3 weeks in which the actual work is being done, we're then going to also pop up in different locations of the community. This would have been easier to do in August when it wasn't potentially weather like we had this last winter, but what we're looking at doing is popping up possibly in the Adams Hub. We've been talking to them a little bit about popping up in their studio with maybe some of our new books, and then possibly popping up here in like the Bonanza room, and just popping up around the community so that the community knows that we're there, we're available, and we're still going to be engaged with what they're doing. And Natalie had a good idea about popping up with our winter readathon in different locations to engage the kids in our community during that time so that they wouldn't be left without library services. We would also be trying to keep all of our new items out and available. We're not going to be able to do that for all of our items, but there's different processes we'd have in place so that we wouldn't have to pack up or receive a bunch of items during the construction. So one of the ways we do that is if we check out a book, let's say over Thanksgiving, that book isn't due until the end of January. And so they don't have to bring it back for us to check in and have to do something with it until after the construction.
The book club will be very busy.
As long as the weather is good, yes, it will.
I did write it in the rain.
It's snowed then.
I can bet, yeah.
We'll also be popping up with our mobile makerspace in those areas also.
Now, are you looking into offsite storage for the bulk of the collection, or?
Yes, we are. We're working with facilities to try and accommodate that in current city facilities.
Well, if there's no other discussion, I would entertain a motion.
So on this page that you see, yeah, sorry. It's page 12. We have page numbers now, so it's page 12.
All right, then, since nobody else is going to step up, I'll move to approve the library management team's recommendation to close the library for the minimum amount of time to complete the signboard replacement, video surveillance installation, exterior paint, interior paint, and main floor library floor replacement. Thank you very much for that.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to Part B under this item, discussion and possible action to approve the unclassified job performance appraisal for the library director, Sina Lloyd. Did everybody have time to review the review? And was there any discussion that needed to take place?
My turn. I agree with your synopsis of everything that we all contributed here. I will say that I was a bit taken aback by the 360 review because it's, in some places, sounded like they were talking about two different people, mainly to do with the communications problems. And I will also say that during my interactions with many members of the staff, I saw no signs of any communication problems. So I don't know where all that came from. I think Sina's doing a fantastic job keeping methods of communication in their training sessions is probably a good idea, but keep up the good work.
I find the process overbearing. Truly, I've worked in
The review process?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I've worked in government for 25-plus years and have never seen anything what I consider as invasive as this was. You know, I would sit down with my boss, she would tell me things are going, and we'd move on. Hell, for 20 years, I never had an evaluation. So I'd like to apologize for you having to go through this process like this. I think the 360, I don't like it. I really don't. I'm sorry if you guys like to, get into that. I just don't like it. I thought your evaluation of her was spot on, but I think it could be done far less invasive and not as major production. And I'm just stunned, and I'll shut up.
I would like to just make a comment. This is Sina Lloyd. I actually asked my staff to do the 360 review. That was something that I initiated, not necessarily something that was required.
Shame on you.
So speaking as the person who ends up putting this together, I do find that useful for me just to get a more comprehensive perspective of
Well, my comment or
what
the 360?
No, the 360, because it gives me both the 10,000 foot view and the boots on the ground view.
Yeah, I understand.
I agree that it could seem kind of invasive, but I really appreciate it's undertaken by Sina.
I cut out a comic strip, and I had posted in my office, and it said, "Your evaluation's due. You're still not fired." And that pretty much, said it, right?
Well, kudos to Sina for allowing your staff to, give you feedback, because I think you can only get better if you know what people think and how they feel, and that's the only thing, the good thing that can come from it.
Agreed.
I don't think you always know her.
So before you make a motion, because this is a public hearing on the evaluation, you should take public comment. I realize there is no public, but just go ahead and call for it.
At this time, if any members of the public would like to come forth and comment on the review of the library director, now would be the time. Seeing none, we'll move on. If there's no further discussion from the board, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to accept the evaluation of the library board and the proposed goals and objectives for the library director, and authorize the unclassified employment merit increase associated with the performance rating to take effect on July 1st, 2017.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to item 7, the library director administrative reports.
Okay, so the first thing that you're going to see here is the budget breakdown. And it's a little bit more of the same. I did do I redid the graphs and chart in Google Sheets. It just made it a little bit easier to read, I felt. I mean, it's very similar to what it was before. So as you can see here, based on grant funds, gift funds, and Friends of the Library, in addition to our city general fund, our revenue is $1.8 million, a little bit over $1.8 million. Then you're going to go ahead and see expenditures here. We are right now at right about 1.4 million expended. We will have a little bit left over in the gift fund, which is always a good thing. That's not something that we'd have to expend down, but we will have our city general fund budget pretty much expended by the end of this year, especially with our video surveillance and part of the signboard coming out of that. So then on page 38, you're going to go ahead and see really the breakdown of that city budget and what that's looking like currently. If there's no questions on the city budget, I will go ahead and move to the next fund. Okay, so the grant funds here, because of the way that the city does their financial accounting and the way we spend money on our P card, which is the city credit card, and then it is processed. You'll see some items here like the El Dia de los Niños. There is expenditures in that line item. That is not an unexpended line item, but they are just hitting the city budget, the city HTE budget system now. And because of the amount of days that we have to get this information into Granicus before your meeting, you're actually seeing it a month late. So I am sorry for that, but that is the way it goes. So the statewide reading grant here, that was expended from last fiscal year. This fiscal year, the state library has done something a little bit different. They've offered a community enhancement grant, which we're currently in the process of applying for. That would start July 1st and go through June 30th, but it would be available to more programs than just summer reading program or the summer learning challenge. It is not very much additional funding. It's about $3,000 instead of $2,800, but that will give us the ability to focus on some of these really neat things that we're doing now and really enhance those rather than just spend it all in summer. Okay, if there's no other questions for the grant funding, I'll go ahead and move it into the gift fund. The gift fund here, what I've tried to break out for you so that you can see it is the Friends funding goes into the gift fund. So there's not really any difference when it's the actual line items, expenditures to the city, it's all out of the gift fund. But I really wanted to emphasize here how much the Friends are giving us and how much we are expending from funding that the Friends are giving us. And that's what you can see in the red. That's all Friends funding, and then the blue is the gift fund funding. And so those are our current expenditures there. Are there any questions about the gift fund? Okay. So with that, I'm done with the budget reports. Would you like me to move on to the director's report?
Yes, please.
Okay, so on page 57, you'll see the director's report. And one of the things that I am so excited to tell you guys about is SB 313. The governor signed it. Was that today or yesterday? I think, okay, yesterday. So the governor signed SB 313 yesterday. The potential benefits to us is the Friends of the Library and their ability to kind of hold funds for us, or if funds were donated to the library that that are restricted funding, we can move that from the library's gift fund to the Friends of the Library. The Friends of the Library would also be able to potentially go into lease agreements for the library. It actually changes the NRS of what a public library is. So there's a little bit of benefit there for us that we see in the future with trying to do some more potential remodels or whatever we're going to do with the current library building we're in, or a different library building. The only other items I have on here, it's been a really busy month. Amy and myself were at Legislative Day in DC. Good news from that is Senator Cortez Masto's office did sign the Deer appropriation letter for IMLS. So we did get that confirmation, and that's really great news. She was actually at Las Vegas Clark County Libraries earlier this week, essentially taking a tour of their libraries and getting her own library card. So that was awesome to hear as well. What you'll see here, you'll see the Valentines. There's a Carson City Loves the Library Fund IMLS. Those were scans of the Valentines that we gave to the Board of Supervisors that we then took and provided to the representatives there in DC. They really, really liked that. So are there any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to item 8, the other administrative reports, starting with the access services update.
Kathy Rush for the record. So the first item on the access services report highlights the participation of our circulation librarian Maria Clusta in this year's Leadership Institute, which is put on by the Carson City Chamber of Commerce. So in addition to meeting people in the community, Maria said she learned a lot about the city, which, being new to the area, was really helpful to her. She also said that many of the topics and the tours that she went on with the group were particularly helpful to her job here at the library. So, for example, learning about services offered at the Nevada Job Connect and at the Senior Center gave her more knowledge to answer questions that she would be asked when she was at the library. For their final group project, the leadership class painted a mural for the dining hall at Fish, which there's a picture of it then here in the report that's in your packet. So the second item on the report concerns a new resource that is soon to be available at the library, which is Book Club in a Bag, where 8 copies of a given title are grouped together in a custom-made bag, along with a checkout sheet for a book club to have their members be able to sign out, who's got which book. And these will offer local book clubs the convenience of checking out 8 books at a time, so that their members can read them at the same time. We often have people coming up to the information desk asking about their hold. Is my hold in? Because I have to have this book read by next week for my book club. So I think this book club bag will be really help them out. So the new collection will be rolled out with about 17 book club bags to begin with. It's a mix of fiction and nonfiction. Two of the titles that caught my eye are The Handmaid's Tale, which is currently a television series, and The Circle, which is currently showing in the movie theaters. So I'm sure those are going to be very popular. Library staff has been working very diligently behind the scenes to prepare the new collection. Space was made at the end of the large print collection, and bags are currently being cataloged and processed. We have volunteers who are doing some of the laminating and applying what we call wraps on each book, which lets us know which bag they go in and which number they are. And the checkout sheets and the content lists are being created. So a staff procedure for checking bags in and out is in process. And then once the bags are complete and the signage is up in the library, the collection will get rolled out. Any questions?
I really like that. That is so cool.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Moving on to the collection development update.
Amy Lauder for the record. I think Phyllis brought this up briefly at our last meeting, but we are expecting any day now delivery of our blue homebound delivery bags, which kind of match our red book club bags, so they'll kind of go together. It's nice. And those are in honor of Hazel Ryland and her work with the Homebound Services Program. And we got so many donations in honor of Hazel's memory that Rachel was able to buy it was more than 30 large print books for the collection, which was really helpful because they are significantly more expensive than your usual books. So some of them are pictured there, and I think she's going to get to order even more next week because we got even a little bit more funds for that. So that will be a great addition to that program. And the other thing on here, we have finished spending out the State Collection Development Grant, and this, we were able to get almost 200 new books with that to update and supplement our nonfiction collection, and that was done in coordination with a large weeding project. In discussion with library staff when I came on in the summer, we hadn't gone through the entire collection since I think about 2010, 2011, when we put in RFID. So most of that was done by one of our newest staff members, Christina Stanfield, who is an experienced professional library worker. She's working as one of our senior library assistants. So as being new to our area and our organization, I think that was a great experience for her to kind of learn what our patrons use, what we need, what we do. And I was able to work with her to identify what we needed since she was going through what we already had. So I think that project worked very well. And we also got, now have a wish list for what to get next year, so that worked great.
Excellent, thank you, Amy. Moving on to our grants administration update.
Yes, this is Diane Baker, Department Business Manager for the record. And as you can see in the report, we are in the final stretch with the mobile makerspace. We are doing, have been doing final projects with the groups that we have been meeting with. And a week from tomorrow ends the school year. So these last 2 weeks, this week and next week, we have been doing wrap-up evaluation, getting information from the different students, participants, and then just doing some plain fun stuff to wrap up the year with them. We will still have some additional projects after the school year is out, trying to finalize with juvenile detention, the types of projects, because they have some very specific requirements as to what we can bring in and not. But we have a couple of dates for that, and also we'll be doing some additional outreaches with the mobile makerspace as we're wrapping up. And as you remember, we did have Senator Dennis in that video, was able to come with a ride-along with us. The mayor has scheduled, and then we've had to reschedule, so we're still, one way or the other, we're going to get him out involved with one of our projects. He really wants to do it. It's just one of those scheduling aspects. And you can see that in April, we had 298 student contacts amongst all the different programs. And the kids are still excited, but they are also seeing that the school year is just about out. So, so we have a few challenges as we're wrapping up just to keep them on task. And the last items, as Sina had mentioned, even though you saw in the budget, a number of things look like they weren't expended. We are at fully expended statuses with a number of the grants. This gives us the time to complete the reimbursement requests, get our final reports, and get things set up for the deadlines that are coming up.
Just tell the mayor he can use the 3D printer. He'll be there.
We'll do that.
He desperately wants to see something made on that.
Oh, gosh, and that's one of the things in just the evaluation, a little tidbit is the 3D printer has been one of the, rock stars in the groups that we've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diane. Moving on to the creative learning update.
Natalie Wood, Creative Learning Manager. The first thing that I want to talk about is our Summer Learning Challenge that is right around the corner. It will start on June 10th and go through August 4th. Our kickoff party is on June 10th from 12 to 1:30. If you guys want to stop by, we'll have activities, the option to register, get set up, and we will have a food truck there available too. We're still working out some of those plans with the food truck, but it's going to be to promote various things, primarily reading, but also participating in activities to provide that opportunity to learn more. I will be sure to get you guys more information on the guide and have that available as soon as possible. It is almost done for you guys to see. The next one is NASA at My Library. Our librarians, Aubrey and Maria, completed an application for the NASA at My Library grant, and they were awarded it. It was very exciting. We already received our program kits. Aubrey will be going to a training for that, and we're going to have some great NASA opportunities at the library where we actually partner, have presentations, we have the kits, and we have those opportunities for, the schedule pretty much goes for a year, and then there's the option to kind of go to the next level based on how you do. So we're really excited about that and the opportunity to get fun and sciencey.
And this is Diane Baker. I just have to chime in. These guys did a great job. And there were only 75 libraries across the nation that got this out of hundreds of applications. So, yeah, I mean, this is really, really cool for them.
You guys really rock when you get your grants. I got to tell you, you're competing at a really high level for the number of grants that you get. I don't think this town appreciates the amount of money that you guys bring in through grants. It's phenomenal for what you guys end up doing with it.
And we have worked, this is Sina Lloyd, we have worked with the individuals who are, it's through ALA, but the group that puts on the NASA at My Library grant is also the same group that we worked with this Discover Tech Engineers Make a World of Difference in 2014, and which we had applied for that grant in 2012. And so that it's going to be a great experience. They work very well with libraries to implement STEM projects.
I mean, I used to write grants a long time ago, and I know what you guys go through to do this. And for the success rate that you guys have, I know you may not think it, I don't know what you think, but from where I'm sitting, you guys are great.
And also, this was Aubrey and Maria's first grant, and they did an amazing job on getting it out there and writing it. And
1 in 75?
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that was really great getting it out there.
Yep. They did a great job.
Thank you very much, Natalie. I'm sure that Aubrey will be nerding out about having all this. So.
He wants to go to space camp.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and then now we are picking up item 5, the youth liaison report.
Natalie Wood, Creative Learning Manager. Sorry, our liaison was not able to attend. She has homework and she was picked up at 5:30, but she was waiting and just couldn't make it. Our first one is bookend art. Through the month of April, we did our DIA, and bookend art was something that we did. The teens really embraced it. So all the leftover supplies, they have been painting regularly in the digitorium. So we're seeing that we have some artsy kids, and we'll probably implement some more artsy programs for them because they seem to like just that passive, here's some stuff, play with it and have fun, and then it also decorate our library, so that's a fun program going on. The second one is the teen leadership meeting with new entrepreneurs. That is scheduled for June 14th. Alex from New E is going to come over and discuss college options with the teens, so a little outreach and partnership with other programs for teens.
Thank you very much. Okay, getting back into the flow of the agenda again. Item 9, any board member announcements or RFIs? Did any board members have any? Okay. Moving on to item 10, public comment. If any members of the public would like to address the board, now would be the time. Seeing none, we can move on to item 11, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned.